ready to rock and roll is Jordan Palmer. He's got the QB Summit out there in California and is the off-season QB coach of one Josh Allen, also Sam Darnold, among other NFL pros. And
bring Jordan on the screen so
he's ready to roll, man.
We've been talking.
We were talking during the break, and it's like we didn't want to stop.
It's amazing too because the Bills have been scoring a lot of points on these teams. Let's just jump right into it, Jordan. First of all, thanks for being on. The Bills have been on an unbelievable pace in the red zone, and Josh doesn't turn it over down there. You went through it. Like, why? Give us from an offensive coach's standpoint, why, or a defensive coach's standpoint, why the Bills are such a handful in the red zone down close.
Well, one of the things is let's all say that we're all defensive coordinators here, okay? And we got to play the Bills, which would be the last team I'd want to play right now. When you get in the red zone, obviously getting the quarterback sacked, getting him hit, getting the quarterback on the ground, that's where turnovers can happen. That's where bad decisions can happen. That's where inaccuracy can happen. So getting around the quarterback as a defense is huge in the red zone when they're just particularly on third down. But you can't rush the passer. If the quarterback is a threat to run, which obviously Josh is, and even when he struggled a little bit his rookie year, he was still running touchdowns, right? So when you have a quarterback, you have to respect his ability to run. You can't rush the passer the exact same way. And then when you have a guy like Brian Daboll, he's not just forcing it to Stephon Diggs when they get in the red zone. He's not just lining up and running it down their throat. They throw it to all the tight ends. They throw it to all the receivers. They throw it to all the running backs. They throw it to the quarterback. When you have to defend every single skill, and I believe Josh has thrown it to a tight end or two, or to a tackle or two as well.
Yep.
Tackle eligible. So when you literally have to defend every eligible receiver at all times and try and sack the quarterback while not giving up your pass rush lane, so because the quarterback's going to jog it in or jump over somebody or stiff arm somebody.
And the run game. I
just don't really know what you do to defend it because Josh also doesn't turn it over. And so in the red zone, I think he has 0. So as a defensive coordinator's perspective, I'm just not really sure what your game plan is going into playing the Bills once they cross the 20.
Whatever the plan is, it's not foolproof, that's for sure, against this group. I was fascinated, Jordan, by a conversation that I heard Josh have on the Pat McAfee show, the former punter, where he talked to him about how he had his throwing motion digitally mapped. So my question is, were you the guys that did that with him? And if so, maybe just kind of relay that story to us, because I think the biggest thing that he took out of that was he was using basically 0 hip drive in his initial throwing mechanics.
Yeah, so that was my group, and I was able to partner with somebody who has an amazing technology that really football's behind. In baseball, they use a lot of this, a lot of biomechanics and measuring things like your kinematic sequence, your hip firing, your shoulder, and then your lever, which in a thrower is your arms. In golf, this is old technology in golf. The golfers on tour, male and female, they hit in simulators. I mean, I got rich friends that have golf simulators. I mean, that's normal for golf. For quarterbacks, it's not really normal. And so I was able to really partner with guys who do have golf and baseball backgrounds, and we're able to map things out. Now, Josh found out some things, and it was helpful. And I keep hearing my name talked about all the time, and I've done media, and I'm happy to do it. I'm getting way too much credit for Josh's year. This has to do with Josh solving things himself, Josh making the plays, and then Brian Daboll and Ken Dorsey building a plan around him that works. The conversations he has with Matt Barkley, during the week and on the sideline. Like, Josh is in a very, very good spot where he's got a lot of really smart people, and then he's actually doing it himself. So I will say this. Yes, we did a ton of work this offseason, and we were able to kind of solve for some things. But my name's getting thrown in there way too often because this was all Josh's work and the Buffalo Bills staff. But with that being said, the really exciting thing is some of the things that we found out really won't be addressed until this coming off season. So you think about this growth, this gain. I'm not creating expectations here. Josh has handled that himself. But there's a ways to go. And I think we're not even close to the ceiling. And Josh has always been incredibly talented. He's always had an amazing skill set. He doesn't just have a rocket arm. He's always had touch too. Accuracy and these things have certainly been getting better. But I think the biggest thing is the credit goes to Josh, because Josh is just seeing things so clearly. He's not – I had a conversation with a mutual friend of Josh and I's, who's another player in the league. And one of the things that he says he's watching Josh is, he goes, it's not that Josh isn't throwing picks. It's that none of the balls are even in jeopardy of being picked. It's not like he hasn't thrown very many picks because everyone's dropping them, which happens sometimes. The ball's just not put in harm's way. So there's been some mechanical things that Josh did, and he put a lot of work in, and the staff's done an amazing job. And I, busted my tail to help him out as much as I could. But it's really a combination of a lot of things, and Josh is really the reason for it. He's the one doing the work. He's the one executing. He's the one working tirelessly when no one knows he's even doing it, and he's reaping the benefits, and Bills Mafia is as well.
Yeah. I wanted to follow that up with the ceiling question. I mean, you opened the door, so I'm going to walk through it here. You said he still has stuff that you guys discovered that he's going to work on this coming off season. So with that in mind, and the humongous jumps that he's made, like we had Brian Billick on about a month or two ago, and I asked him if he had ever seen a quarterback make a jump in completion percentage like this. And he said, 40 years in football, I've never seen a jump to this degree. It's almost unprecedented. So all of the improvements aside, you still think there's some ground to gain here in Josh's game, and the ceiling still has some room for him to grow to?
I don't think there's a ceiling. I think Josh is physically the most gifted athlete we've had play this position in the NFL. And I understand that's a strong statement. And I'm not saying it because I work with him or because I'm a fan of his. That's not why I say it. I think it's pretty factual. He's 6'5" and change. He's 240 and change. He's as fast as any of these guys minus Lamar and Russell. He's probably faster than everybody else at the quarterback position. His arm is what it is. It's strongest in the league or second strongest in the league, whatever, that doesn't matter. And he also is a runner. He has vision. He can cut back. He's hurdled people. He's not just a fast guy that runs out of bounds. So when you put all those things together from a talent perspective, that really makes that ceiling really high. But then you look at from a mechanical standpoint, there's some opportunities to get more consistent. As amazing as the year has, he's certainly missed throws. So has Aaron. So does every MVP ever. They miss throws too. So there's an opportunity there. The biggest area I see for growth isn't actually due to Josh. It's just due to the timing with his players, with his teammates. So let's look at this offseason with Stephon Diggs. And they're on this historic run right now. But the reality is this offseason, I know it's been talked about that the guys all went to Miami for 3 days. Think about it. No OTAs. He got 3 days in Miami before training camp. That's it.
No preseason either.
They didn't have any time this offseason to work on specific things, to work on specific routes. One of the things when you get a new receiver, and I've been on teams where we got a new free agent receiver, a new draft pick, and you want to throw some balls to him low. You want to throw them to him high. I want to throw it outside. I'm going to force it in there between the defenders and see if he goes and gets it. You got to try things out to see what a guy can do and for him to get used to the way that you throw it. And for him and Steph to be doing what they're doing, and really the only time they've had chances to work on that is in practice during the season and in games. You're not going to risk throws in games that you will in OTAs. So next year, if there's OTAs, Josh will be able to try all kinds of stuff with Steph to see if they can do it because there's no consequence. He can throw a pick in practice and nobody cares. So they haven't even had a chance to really develop the chemistry outside of on Sundays, which is the hardest place to develop chemistry. So the chemistry these guys have, I don't think right now it's anywhere near where it's going to be. And that's the same case for all of the receivers and tight ends that he's throwing it to. That's the same case for both those young running backs who haven't got a full offseason of really working with him yet. So all that stuff that's new for new players or for no offseason, just from a continuity standpoint, there's a room to grow for this offense. And that is really scary for the AFC East and whoever's in their way during this playoff run.
I'm going to ask you about this playoff run. They've got the Indianapolis Colts coming in. They're a solid team, no question about it. They deserve to be in the playoffs. This is but it's the 2 seed coming in on a steamroll against a team that just kind of got in because of a win by that other team. They won their game, the Indianapolis Colts, and the Bills beat the other team that was in contention for the 7th seed. So the Colts get in. How do you see this bracket working out, particularly since you've got Tennessee and Baltimore playing against each other on the opening week, those two teams that are kind of those power run teams? And just give me a quick synopsis of the playoffs and how they're going to play out.
Well, another way to look at it is they've added a 7th team. Now, obviously, we all know that this is a bummer year to be the number 2 seed because you don't get that bye. But they're essentially playing against a team that on any other year would not have made the playoffs. There's normally 6 spots. Right. They're playing the 7th seed. So one way to look at it is they're playing a team that would not have made the playoffs. But it doesn't matter rankings going into it. Any given Sunday, you got to play well. Any given Saturday this weekend. So what they're going to need to do is continue to do what they've been doing. They do not need to change everything. It's not playoffs. Now we're going to run everything different. Now we're going to try and play harder. They need to continue to laugh and have fun in warmups. They need to be jacking around with each other. They need to be dancing in the end zone. And they need to be continuing to execute at the level that they're executing right now, and even ratchet that up a notch because of the playoffs. But they don't need to change anything. If they do, they're able to do that. This is a really favorable matchup for Buffalo. I'll be honest with you. I don't know what on the AFC side until you get to Kansas City. I don't know what isn't a favorable matchup. I know that they lost versus Tennessee the first time and all that, but the way that Buffalo's playing right now, if they can just continue to execute and continue to make the plays that are there, quarterback continues to play within himself, and the staff continues to dial it up the way that they have on offense and defense and special teams, I'd say. They've got a fake punt that worked. I mean, it's like all three phases are just clicking. So they don't need to pull anything out of the hat. In my opinion, it's just continuing to execute and make teams play catch up.
Talking to quarterback consultant and founder of QB Summit, Jordan Palmer. Back to Josh, and as much as we've seen all these improvements, Jordan, the one thing that kind of sticks out to me is just his on-field demeanor, no matter the circumstance in the game. There seems to be this inner calm that has kind of that he's successfully paired with his command of the offense. People would often in years past point to that Harry high school play, or hero ball is the term we hear sometimes, when Josh, maybe he sees Deshaun Watson in that playoff game making plays left and right to get his team to climb back into a game where they're down 16-0. And you couldn't help but think Josh is sitting on the bench saying, well, now I got to go do something amazing. And then we would see like one of those plays, like a lateral throw to his tight end, as he's trying to make a play running with the football. Those are gone from his game now. And there seems to be this inner calm that he's paired with his command of the offense. No matter the circumstance, no matter the time and score, he seems to be in complete control of what he wants to execute. Where does that come from? How do you suddenly have that after maybe not having it no matter the situation in years past?
Well, the easiest way to look at that, and I think you're spot on, is he had a habit starting in college where when he was rolling to his right, he was trying to make a play. And he had a play, I think it was versus Boise State, where he rolled to his right. It was like a sophomore year. It was like a second year playing at Wyoming, and he rolled to his right, and he threw this ball in the back corner of the end zone. He was running out of bounds. He threw it like 46 yards. Perfect throw. I mean, unbelievable throw. And that was kind of like the start of the Josh Allen hype. Well, and then he did that his rookie year. He did that last year a lot. I think he did that the first week or two of the season. When he was rolling to his right and trying to make a play, he would sometimes make an unbelievable throw, sometimes throw a dumb pick, and a lot of times take an unnecessary hit. Hit his head on the ground, land on his throwing shoulder. It was dangerous. It was compromising. And the risk and the reward was not a mature decision. So that's been basically eliminated. He hasn't done that since I think week 1 or 2 this season. Like not even once. Throws it away when it needs to be thrown away, chucks it out of bounds, makes plays when they're there. And then he's had some, throw it across his body to an open receiver and the ball was not in jeopardy. And I think that the theme is, and it's all him, but the theme for at least my conversations has really been around control, physically, mentally, and emotionally. So from a physical standpoint, controlling the football. Controlling the ball is the root of accuracy. Now, from a media perspective, and a lot of coaches and scouts, they just say somebody's either accurate or they're not. But it really comes down to their control of the football. And that is what I think Josh has developed over these last 3 years, is more control of the football. He doesn't really lose the ball ever. Doesn't sail it over the guy's head, doesn't throw a duck. He's just in control of the ball. Controlling his mind is just taking it one play at a time, one series at a time. Doesn't matter what happened last time, new series, reload. And that's an easy thing to talk about. It's a very difficult thing to do in the moment. And then the third one is the biggest jump, is that's in controlling your emotions. Josh is, in my opinion, an elite, not even just in football. I've been around a lot of professional athletes in a lot of different sports. Josh is an elite competitor. He has zero interest in second place whatsoever, and he never has. Part of it's the way he was raised. Part of it's having a brother that's a year younger than you. It's a combination of all the things. But he is so competitive that early in his career, that competitiveness, look at the way that Texans game ended last year, that trying to make a play competitiveness, a lot of times led to bad plays. And so being in control of his emotions and knowing that, man, I really want to try and make these 5 guys miss and throw it 80 yards down the field, but nope, I'm going to throw it out of bounds. Second down. And he's just playing the game. He's playing football. We call game managers guys that don't have strong arms and throw checkdowns. I think Aaron Rodgers is a great game manager. I think Tom Brady's a great game manager. I think Russell Wilson's a fantastic game manager. I think Patrick Mahomes is a great game manager. And Josh has turned into an elite game manager. It's not just the touchdowns he throws and the games he wins. It's the picks he doesn't throw and the games he doesn't lose for his team.
I got to ask you one question. We're sitting here in the AFC East, and certainly Josh has knocked it out of the park. And this is my last question. I'm going to let you go. One of your other guys and a good friend of Josh Allen's is Sam Darnold. And the Jets, once again, fired a head coach. Sam is going to get another offensive coordinator. What are your thoughts about Sam Darnold's future? And, you know, when does he get a little stability that Josh has enjoyed? When is he going to get an offensive coordinator that understands his skill set? And what do you think his ceiling is or his future is in the near future?
Well, I think Sam has a similar ceiling. It's really, really high. This is an elite athlete in terms of his ability to move and create space. He can make all the throws. He's had zero development and continuity thus far. Even in college, he only played 15 games and kind of got thrown in there. And you know, they don't develop quarterbacks the way that some other schools do. And then from the NFL's perspective, this would be his third OC. Zero continuity, zero stability there. And then the roster is it's certainly not the Bills' offensive roster. He's had 2 GMs. And so if he's in New York this year and he gets a new system and all that stuff, I just hope that it's somebody who is going to be able to continue to develop him the way that Brian Daboll and Ken Dorsey have developed Josh Allen. They don't get it. Whatever credit in the world is not enough. They have done a fantastic job with Josh. And if Sam, you know, the way that Justin Fields and these other guys are playing, who knows what the Jets are going to do? I don't. And so until they get those pieces in place, we won't know what they're going to do with Sam. And if Sam gets an opportunity to go somewhere else, again, I think it's somewhere where he gets a chance to develop and learn. Sam does not need to sit for a year or two and figure it out. He just needs one consistent thing and know who's running what route and when they're going to be there. And Sam, what I'll say about Sam is there will be a time in Sam's future where all he has to do is play to his ability, and that'll be enough for them to win most of the games and be in it at the end. And when Sam gets to that point, he is a guy who is capable of winning a Super Bowl.
Thanks very much, Jordan.
Thanks,
We're out
Jordan.
of time. We appreciate you joining us, and enjoy the playoffs.
Awesome. I will. Go Bills.
Right.